Hello everybody, this is Untitled Chapter back again with another Destiny exotic review. Today we'll actually be going over one of my best in slot weapons for PvE, especially on a Warlock, as that is where I think this does the best. This being said, the weapon we are talking about today is the exotic energy weapon, and a bow, Trinity Ghoul. So Trinity Ghoul is an arc bow that can be obtained through any means that gives you an exotic. And this weapon has some really awesome perks, and specifically the biggest thing you have to do with this weapon is get the masterwork as quick as possible. And firstly, I'll just say this. It took me like maybe 2 days to do it when I was barely even using the weapon in order to get this thing masterworked, and the masterwork from what I've seen drops from almost any activity extremely quickly. But that being said, let's get into it. And you are seeing masterwork gameplay, because it radically changes how this weapon performs. So, what is Trinity Ghoul? Well, Trinity Ghoul is the exotic bow, and it has two major perks and then a major perk given to it by the catalyst. So, firstly, when this weapon fires basically 3 arrows at once, as you can see. Sometimes you'll see like there's 3 damage numbers. Basically, it fires 3 slightly lower damage arrows, and while it's aimed down sights, the spread of them is decreased, and they go in like a horizontal fashion, as you can see like in small spots here with the little trace effect. Simply put, it does similar damage to a normal bow. Base, but that's not what makes it good, although the 3 arrows does help out, and I'll talk about that later. Its second perk, which I believe is Forked Lightning, but it's considered Lightning Rod in game, so I'll just talk about it. So getting precision kills with the weapon gives you Lightning Rod. So what happens is when your arrows strike a target or the ground, they will chain lightning to nearby enemies. Now, the thing is that if you don't have the, well, I'll say as baseline, basically you still have to keep getting precision hits in order to get the Lightning Rod to trigger. That is until they came out with the Masterwork, which is all arc kills now trigger Lightning Rod to be enabled. What does that mean? Well, you can see what I'm doing here, where I'm literally just spamming arrows on the ground, and I'm just constantly chaining lightning. And as you can see, it's just insane. So essentially we have an average damage bow that can shoot spread shot arrows that also chain lightning to multiple enemies. And once you get the masterwork, all your damage gives you it. All your arc damage anyways. Another big note with this weapon is that whilst you can stow the weapon and have lightning rods stay up, so basically this weapon does not lose its ability like Ace of Spades and stuff like that, where it will lose Memento Mori. This one will keep its stuff, which is very, very, very good. But it doesn't like chain to nearby, or it doesn't chain to the weapons you have equipped. It still only works on what its baseline meant to do, which is kind of cool. That doesn't, because that would probably cause a lot of problems. Specifically, I'm looking at another Zala Supercell becoming a thing again. That'd be kind of funny. But, yeah. Otherwise, I would say the biggest issue with this weapon overall is the fact that it doesn't do very well at single target DPS. Like I said, it has about the same damage as a regular bow, and the thing is that you still have to hit all 3 arrows in order to get the same damage, if not a little bit more damage than your standard bow, which really sucks when you think about it, because well, it just doesn't do anything. I mean, but that's also the other big thing too, is Crucible. This weapon is not very good in. Though if you can get the chain lightning to trigger, so if you use an arc ability to get the lightning off, this becomes an anti-objective weapon, so basically just play and control, get it with one of your melee or your grenades. and then just immediately just go phew, right into an objective point, and everybody dies. So I would say it's not useless in Crucible, but it's not. It has a very specific use case, and it doesn't get used very often because of that, as well as the fact that it just doesn't do as much damage as other bows might, at least baseline. Now, why do I say this weapon is so good on the Warlock? Well, because it does the one thing that, well, it does one of the main things that some of the Warlock classes really need, and that is, it gives them easy AoE without making them sacrifice, how to say it, without sacrificing their single target. Because if you think about it, Titans, most of their they don't even really have a DPS class, except for maybe Hammer. But even Hammer, you have multiple ways to chain explosions, you have sunspots, you have everything. Essentially, the thing that makes Warlock weird is, aside from, I think, like, some parts of Lightning, which is already made to be like an AoE-based set, even Shadebinder, which is what I'm using here, sometimes has issues with dealing with multiple targets. The biggest thing about Warlock is that it's not the greatest AoE if you're not willing to trade out your single target. What this does is that this makes it so you can go full in single target, which is what my setup's more AoE right now, but you can basically go like full. A good example would be Top Tree Voidwalker. Is really insane with this because it allows you to essentially just have free AoE and not have to waste your grenades on targets, or you even use your super on like low health targets. You can use it on the big stuff, and it also really helps for solar quite a bit because it allows you to, well, do some of the things you might be restricted to. A good example would be if you're playing Top Tree and you don't want to play like or not Top Tree, Middle Tree Solar, so you're playing the healing one, and I don't know, you're not using Lumina or something like that, and you just want something, you know, for strikes, so you don't constantly have to keep wasting your grenade that you could use to heal people. Instead, this just gives you an easy way to clear out tons of ads. Either way, with that being said, this is still one of my favorite weapons in the game just because of how unique its ability is. Because you would think Chain Lightning wouldn't be that great, and if you look at Risk Runner, that's one other weapon that can do Chain Lightning. But the difference between them is a lot, because as a Risk Runner, gives you a lot more benefit for having the perk active, because, you know, you have infinite reload, you have damage resistance from arc, and you get Chain Lightning on top of a standardly good SMG. This one, on the other hand, it's a decent bow that just gets good AoE because of its lightning ability. But the thing that makes it different from Risk Runner is that Risk Runner, you have to find ways to proc it, because you need to take arc damage. So usually that means if you're not in or a place where you're going to be taking arc damage a lot of the time, or you know you will be, it gets pretty bad because, well, you're not taking arc, so you're not triggering the perk. And if you want to trigger the perk without it, you need to find a way to deal arc damage to yourself, which means you might have to run arc subclass. With Trinity Ghoul, on the other hand, you do not need to run an arc subclass because kills with the weapon count for its own abilities. Which means that just killing an enemy with Trinity Ghoul, while you have the Masterwork up, mind you, gives you your Lightning Rod, which gives you your AoE. Yeah, overall, I guess it's time to get into the rating, because the rating's kind of simple. In PvE, I will give this a 4 out of 5. Simply put, this weapon is unparalleled in terms of just straight up just ad clearing. Like I said, the only thing that holds a candle to it is Risk Runner, in my opinion. But the best way to deal with that is the fact that with Risk Runner, you have to put in a lot more effort in order to get yourself running. No pun intended. As where Trinity Ghoul, you can literally just play casually with the weapon, because it's not even a bad weapon without the perk active, and the weapon will still just start melting people. In PvP, I'll give this a 2 out of 5. Simply put, it's much below average. But with its perk, it does have some niche cases where it becomes very good. So yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed me talking about Trinity Ghoul. Like I said, one of my favorite PvE exotics. And if you're a Warlock that plays Voidwalker or Dawnblade, I would recommend checking this weapon out. With that being said, this is Dead530 signing off.